His brow furrowed in concern as he examined the two images before him. Without wasting a moment, he hurried to their medical charts, searching for their blood work results. A perplexed expression crossed his face as the data failed to align. Brianna and her sister observed with mounting apprehension as the doctor's eyes widened in disbelief. "How can this be?" he whispered, his tone laced with fear, as he turned to them abruptly. Brianna Dean and her twin sister Brittany had a special bond. They were closer than any other twins they knew. But when it came to their dating life, they preferred to keep their love quiet until they were sure it was serious. One big example was the fact that Brittany loved flying, but Brianna was terrified, which made vacations quite the challenge. Brianna's serendipitous encounter with her future husband took place at the Twins Festival in Twinsburg, Ohio. This man's name was Josh Salyers, and intriguingly, he was a twin himself with a brother named Jeremy. While Brittany and Jeremy engaged in lighthearted conversation, there was an unmistakable magnetic attraction between Brianna and Josh. Their love blossomed, prompting the momentous task of revealing this newfound relationship to Brittany. However, Brittany held her own secret close to her heart. As Brianna shared the news about her love affair with Josh Salyers, Brittany's countenance underwent a dramatic transformation, shifting from shock to amazement. The puzzle of her sister's reaction remained unresolved until Brittany reciprocated by disclosing her own relationship with Jeremy, Josh's twin brother, which had also developed into a deep connection. Both sisters harbored dreams of a pristine white wedding and the prospect of all four of them residing under the same roof. However, before they could embark on this fairy tale journey, an essential step awaited them: a visit to the doctor. Initially desiring to consult with a midwife, the unrelenting insistence of their family eventually led them to a sterile office permeated by the antiseptic scent of disinfectant. It was a place where unfortunate news had historically taken root. When the doctor walked in wearing a slight frown, their hearts started to race. Was it bad news? Since Brianna and her sister were in their late 30s, they decided they wanted to get a fertility check. It was just a precaution. But when they told the doctor that they were dating identical twins too, they were shocked by what the doctor said. Although they were fertile, the doctor warned them against starting a family with their unorthodox partners. But Brittany and Brianna wouldn't listen. They got married together and bought a house to live in together. Everything seemed to be going great, but deep within the corners of Brianna's mind, all she could think of was the doctor's stark warning. Of course, it wasn't long until they were both pregnant. The amazing news, however, was quickly countered with an unpleasant reality. Brianna tried to ignore the feeling that something wasn't quite right about all this. Brittany was 3 months pregnant when she suffered a miscarriage. With Brianna 4 weeks behind her, she feared that the same thing would happen to her. They had the same body after all. After an anxious wait, it was as predicted. Brianna followed in her sister's footsteps and had a miscarriage at exactly the same time frame. It was a devastating loss, but it didn't discourage them. It was less than half a year by the time Brianna and Brittany found themselves pregnant again. This time, the pregnancies were smooth and their checkups with their doctor were more frequent. But once again, they faced another warning. The doctor sat across from their group and said, "Ladies, I thought I told you to come and talk to me before you decided to start a family." Brianna felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up in anger. "No, you told her mother that," she said, shaking her head. The doctor pulled out a folder. It was her and Brittany's medical history. He went on to use words like testing, health, prenatal preparation, and a bunch of other medical jargon. She tightened her grip on her husband's hand. Who was he to say they shouldn't have kids now? She was about to tell him off, but the next piece of news was heartbreaking. The doctor went on to explain that because of their past genetic problems and the pending tests on their husbands, there was a chance that both she and her sister's baby could have the same defective genetic issues passed down to them. "It's obviously your body and your choice," the doctor said. "I just wish you would have come here so we could have prepared better. Now all we can do is watch closely and be careful. Babies might have been a grab bag of genetic materials, but their pairing of identical twins created an entirely different set of odds." Then the doctor looked at their scans. His eyes popped as he took in the two images he held in his hands. Then he raced over to their medical charts to find their blood work. It didn't make sense. Brianna and her sister watched with growing concern as the doctor's eyes darted across their scans and test documents. What was he seeing? The doctor grabbed a chair and sat next to the twins as he explained what the test results were now beginning to show. It was the unknown that he was most nervous about for them. Although Brianna's and Brittany's babies are from two different fathers and two different mothers, they are only, respectively, cousins, which means genetically speaking, Brianna and Brittany's children, current or future, as long as they remain with their spouses, will always be full biological siblings to each other, even though they would have different parents. For an OB, this is like winning the lottery. It's really that rare, said their doctor. And for the couples, winning the lottery is exactly what this discovery felt like. 8 months and 2 weeks later, Brianna was the first to go into labor. Despite the high risk, she cried with joy as she learned that both babies were perfectly healthy. They had won the DNA lottery and wouldn't have to suffer as they had. However, as they held their tiny infants, they both agreed that they would check with a doctor before having another. Brianna and Brittany, as well as their husbands, were thrilled to know that their children were going to be siblings, especially as they'll be growing up in a house with 4 parents. However, not everyone was as happy as the twins once they found out about their unique story. Reporters and journalists raced to interview them, which they accepted, but the news spread fast, and so did conflicting opinions. TLC realized what a unique situation the Dean sisters' wedding was and aired the entire documentary of the twins' wedding ceremony titled Our Twinsane Wedding. Their wedding's theme was Twice Upon a Time, and the identical twin couples were even married by identical twin ministers. It doesn't happen very often that an identical twin would find and marry another identical twin, so it's no surprise that the story of the Dean sisters and Salyers brothers piqued the interest of many news and TV viewers. Whenever the girls do interviews, people never fail to ask them if the couples have ever been mixed up or kissed the wrong twin, but the girls are quick to set things straight. This has never occurred. In fact, Brittany has even gone on to say that it's weird for people to even think about such things. Brittany and Brianna are eager to embrace a multi-parent approach in raising their children, yet their aspirations don't stop there. They have meticulously coordinated a plan to both become pregnant simultaneously, a feat requiring meticulous planning and a touch of serendipity. It's almost as if the universe conspired to bring these two sets of twins together down to the finest details. Following the birth of their babies, the quartet found themselves overflowing with elation. The harmony of their unions couldn't have been more flawlessly arranged. It feels as if destiny had been at play since their very birth, guiding Brittany toward Jeremy and Brianna toward Josh, as if they instinctively recognized which twin resonated most with them. If you encountered this story in a book, you might deem it impossibly perfect, but it's undeniably true. It's as if the stars themselves aligned to grant my dream marriage while simultaneously gifting me the sight of my twin sister fulfilling her own dreams, Brittany shared in an interview. The probability of such an extraordinary occurrence is staggering, and for the Salyers couples, it's as if every cherished childhood aspiration has been realized.